Okay, hello. I'm here again, once again, with Mario DeMatteo.
Hey
And
Ron, how are
hey,
you?
Mario, we're going to talk today about specifically your authorship and your writing and how you came to be the author that, in retrospect, you have become and will be in the future. So, can you give us a little timeline and background and the why you became an author?
Sure, Ron, thanks. Thanks for having me again. And my writing has been a part of my life since I was a young kid. I love to write, I love to be creative, and my mom always encouraged it. And it's always been something that I wouldn't say came easy, but it was something I loved working on and getting affirmation in class growing up with little stories. And when I got hurt, it was uh, early, probably the first week or 2 weeks where I was in the hospital back in the United States and in rehab, and where I learned how to write again with a pen in my hospital room, and it actually made me start crying because I knew that I could write again. I wrote the alphabet, and it was like really a breath of fresh air to know that I could still do that. And when I came home and was by myself a lot and reading a lot and watching a lot of movies and spending a lot of time with stories, it became pretty clear to me that I wanted to be a storyteller. And I'll fast forward to my going to college, going back to college, Cal State San Marcos, and I was studying storytelling and how to write and spending time with other storytellers and going into workshops and learning about the lives of writers. It really was such a awesome experience and gave me a lot of hope and inspiration that I could become a writer. And during that time, a this vision came to me about telling the story of Paul the Apostle in a graphic novel. That was something that was surprising to me. My kind of newfound love for comic books and graphic novels. I had loved comics growing up and but was never a comic nerd or never was really obsessed with them. And when I got hurt, comic books became a really big part of my reading, and I started collecting them and trying to learn about the history of comic books and graphic novels and seeing how they impacted kids' lives. I had already started tutoring kids at the church we were going to at Grace Presbyterian, and I saw how much they loved graphic novels and how easy it was to get them engaged in the stories. And it wasn't like trying to pull teeth with little kids. You just gave them one of these books and they were just immediately drawn into it. So I saw the power in it, and it was powerful for myself. I really just loved and enjoyed reading them. And that's when this Paul the Apostle idea came into my mind of showing Paul the Apostle from the book of Acts in a unique new way, using characters and styles from my childhood, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and He-Man and Narnia and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and kind of blending them all together. And that's what came to be the first book, the Paul the Apostle Graphic Story Bible. And it really was a team effort. I was along the way guided by mentors on how to write a script off of something that had already been written, which was the Book of Acts. So converting the Book of Acts into a graphic novel, creating original elements to it that made it, that didn't invent anything, but just capitalized and amplified moments from the Book of Acts, which was really
Why children though, Mario? Why children? You mentioned that it kind of touched your child. Is that the backstory to it? What's the backstory to why children as opposed to a similar book to adults?
Yeah, I have a huge heart for kids and really wanted to spend time, and if I were to spend any time in my life to cater to an audience, it would be to kids because there's, in my opinion, not enough faith-based comic books and graphic novels out there already. And I just saw an opportunity to really make a difference in that industry, because it was adults like comics and graphic novels and benefit from them. And there is a whole genre of adult comic books, but for me, it was just all about the kids and trying to get kids to be inspired and to learn about Bible heroes that they could look up to and give them something that they could get off their iPads and video games for a second and dive into something that's really enriching for their lives and could really make a difference in their life if we were able to get them to read something that was about these really strong biblical heroes that are oftentimes for kids. Reading the book of Acts is hard for a lot, even for adults, it can be hard to read the Bible. So to make it easier for kids to read the Bible was something that was really felt really awesome to me and something that was worthy of the work and worthy of the time.
So did you publish the book yourself, or how did you have a publisher? What was the process after your writing and your creation?
Yeah, the first book after working with this team, Mark Harmon, Ben Avery, Brett Berner, Ishmael Castro, these awesome guys that worked with me on this book. I published the first book myself, learned how to get them printed in South Korea and learned about all sorts of things you wouldn't think about, freight and shipping and designing the print of how to make something printable. So it was a really big learning curve for me, but we were able to make this first book. We were super high quality. It was amazingly printed. And then from the back of my van, I drove around. This is
Wow.
about 6 years ago, from church to church in San Diego, selling books out of the back of my van. And I used to make jokes that I was a traveling Bible salesman, um, but was actually pretty successful with it and was just had a couple books that were inspiring and influential on how to sell a book, because that is one thing you don't always think about. Making the book's really fun, but selling it is actually probably more important, because you could have something super amazing, but if nobody is able to read it or see how to buy it, it'll be just sitting in your garage. So learning how to sell books was really a cool journey for me, and I'm still learning how to do it. And in right before COVID, about a year before COVID, the book was introduced by a mentor of mine, Brent Weideman, who's with the Bible Bells Project, and Aaron Weideman. They're amazing friends and mentors to me, but they connected me with a mid-sized publisher called Broad Street Publishing. They're awesome. They published the Passion Translation Bible, and now they publish all of the Chosen from the Chosen TV show. They publish their devotionals and other items, but they saw the book, saw it as a potential for them to publish it, and they fell in love with it. And so they purchased the publishing rights and funded the second book in the series called Peter the Apostle. So it's
Mm.
a two-book series. I I think I showed it in the other video, but let me just turn around right here and grab it. Not great for video TV, but so here's the Paul the Apostle
Mm.
book. So this is 140 pages. And so they did the second book and called Peter the Apostle, and now they've been selling it. And I sell it on my website, Bare Truth Books. I started my own retail store that sells my books. And one thing I noticed was I was going around from church to church to sell these books, and they were maybe not interested in the book of Acts. They were reading about Moses or Genesis or stuff from the Old Testament. And I didn't have anything to offer them. So it sparked an idea in my head to maybe partner with a comic book company that did have those already done. So I partnered with a really reputable comic book company called Kingstone Comics, and they allowed me to sell their books on my website.
Hmm.
And so I purchased them, and now I've become a retailer and sell about 60 books on my website right now, including my own two books. And it's been really cool just to be able to offer all these really awesome books that I find out in the world. And then I'm able to curate this website that gives a pretty broad and awesome offering to families of faith-based books.
And so that's two books. And tell us about the one that's just going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, so those books opened up this amazing door in a company called Chosen Books, and they approached me. They have the publishing rights. They're the original publisher of Corrie Ten Boom's famous World War II memoir called The Hiding Place. And that book, if your audience isn't aware of it, is this really inspiring, action-packed page turner true story about this family in Holland during World War II, this Christian family who saw what was happening when the Nazis invaded Holland and were hunting down Jewish families and putting them in concentration camps. They immediately, within the first day, started taking action, helping smuggle out Jewish families, get forged traveling cards, IDs, and food cards, and all these things to allow people to survive. And they started hiding Jewish families in their clock shop in a secret room that they called the hiding place. And it's a really amazing story, super inspiring, one of the most brave and inspirational Christian ladies of all time. And they approached me and asked if my company would consider turning that really famous book into a graphic novel for a younger audience. And I immediately said yes. Was such a cool opportunity, and didn't realize how hard it was going to be. But we did this deal, and I agreed to make this book. And 2.5 years later, I think I originally said it was going to take me a year and a half, and it took us about 2.5 years. Very difficult. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but in the end, we learned so much, and it just kept getting better and better. And by the end of probably the second year, I knew it was going to be something really, really special. We worked so hard on it, and it's finally coming out in April 8th.
Hmm.
I actually have it for sale right now on my website on Bare Truth Books, but this is The Hiding Place, and I can send you artwork, but it's just this thousands of little drawings, um, just beautiful artwork of Corey. Sorry, it's kind of hard to hold
Hmm.
it up, but it's amazing full color
Hmm.
illustrated book. And again, this takes a team, me, my partner Ishmael Castro, Mark Harmon did the letters, just a whole team of people that come together to make this book come to life.
That's an incredible story, particularly because Corrie Ten Boom is such an iconic person with respect to what she and her family went through. It's just an incredible story. So April 8th is when it's going to be coming out.
When it's originally or officially released, yep. And it's in every single bookstore on online, Christian bookstore, Barnes and Noble, the publisher, Chosen Books are really excited about it. They're putting a lot behind it to really get it out there into the world, and I'm hopeful that it inspires a lot of kids. I got a email or a image from a friend today who had the book. I've been sending some books out to friends and family, and this gentleman gave it to his grandson, and he's reading it at In and Out, and he was already on halfway through it, and he said he was just captivated by it. So it's pretty cool to already get some feedback.
So as an author, I would imagine you have to deal with in the creative process. How do you determine what your subject's going to be? Is that something that you have in your mind for years that you kind of think about and let your subconscious work, or are you specifically inspired by individuals that you've identified from your past reading?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ron. The three books I mentioned, I'm actually, I wouldn't consider myself so much the author as I'm really just participating in these stories and bringing them to life in a new way.
Hmm.
I do have original writings, but I can't take credit for the Book of Acts or the Gospels. So we brought those to life in a new and exciting way for kids. And Corey Ten Boom's book is amazing, but it was an already finished, beautiful masterpiece, and so I can't take credit for that amazing story, but bringing it to life to kids, I'm really proud of, and how our team just is going to bring the story to a whole new generation of young readers. But in my other writing, my poetry and my bunch of other stories that we're working on that I hope to one day bring to life through either a graphic novel or through novels, that takes a long, long time, and I wish I could tell you more about how hard it is. It's hard to be creative. You just got to keep working at it, and takes a long, long time, and every day
What's in the pipeline now?
dedicating time to it. I have that another book that I'm gonna have to turn around again. I can show it to you. Um, so this book we've been working on for a while. This is an original story, and I'm hoping to have this come out sometime maybe early next year, realistically. But this is a children's book called Out Come the Monsters, written by me and illustrated by Ishmael Castro. This is the story of this young brother and sister, and they're just living this, they're very imaginative, and it's not even a word, imaginative. They're filled with
Imaginative.
imagination, and they love being in these fantasy worlds in their living room. And so the little brother says, the monsters are coming. And they run to the living room and they build a fort. And then all of a sudden they're in this new monster world, and they're facing their fears. And it's really about bravery and working together, and coming together and being there for your loved ones. And
Mario, what is the inspiration behind that book?
the inspiration is just a an ode to my childhood with my sister, and being a protective older brother, and just loving my little sister, and just hoping that we can still be fighting for each other and fighting together. Now my sister's 36 years old, but we're still brother and sister. And I just wrote it really for her, actually. It was a gift for her.
That's terrific. That's terrific. And you have other books, I believe, that are still yet to uh, be produced. Is that right?
Yeah, I hope to be creating these books for the rest of my life. There's a book that we're in conversation with right now, another previously made book adaptation. I hope I don't make those for the rest of my life, adaptations, but right now it seems like that's the niche my company has become really good at fulfilling. It's a story of a gentleman named Henry Nouwen, who's a really famous theologian, and he gave up his prestige and his honors working at Harvard and other universities to spend time being the caregiver for a man named Adam who had pretty high level special needs and lived in this house called L'Arche. It was a group home basically for special needs adults, and he just lives out the rest of his life taking care of these people and them in turn taking care of him, and just this beautiful spiritual partnership and journey between Henry and Adam and this whole group that becomes his family. That is not 100% that we're going to be working on that, but it's been actually in the talks for actually a number of years, and it seems like this year we'll finally find out if that book's going to be made. I hope it does get made because Henry now, and if you're not familiar with him, is just a really inspirational man who has some amazing books. Wounded Healer, On Grief. These books were inspirational to me when I got hurt, and Wounded Healer in particular was about being able to suffer and deal with suffering and know that your suffering will help other people suffer. And that's been a big part of my life.
Mm, mm. Mario, as we close, if any of the viewers are interested in acquiring any of your books and in future books, how would they go about uh, ordering something like that? You have your website. Can you tell me again what your website is?
Yes, my website is Bear Truth Books, and that's the word BEAR, the animal, Bear Truth Books. And I would love to have you come on there and take a look at all the books that are so inspiring for kids. I really encourage parents to buy graphic novels and comics for their kids. It's a really interesting and easy way to get kids opening up books and reading and learning about these Bible heroes and these figures in our past, Corey Ten Boom, and seeing how Bible heroes and the Christian inspiring people can really live out a true life of
Mm,
following Christ and
mm.
giving hope.
Hope is what it is all about, isn't it?
100%.
Okay, Mario, thank you again for your time, and we will chat again.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks.